Somebody asked me about lived experience, what I think about lived experience in the comment. I'm not just going to answer in the comment, I'm going to answer here. What I think, let me put my cynical hat on first, because one thing that grinds my gears is the way that language is used to provide a kind of unfair platform on which to have discussions to begin with. And that happens on the level of the individual, doesn't it? With things like, you get involved in a discussion with somebody, and after a period of time, when you haven't backed down and they haven't backed down, they'll accuse you of doubling down. Have they doubled down? Hell no, they haven't doubled down. They're sticking to their guns, aren't they? But what you're doing is doubling down for doing exactly the same thing. But then when you go beyond the level of the individual, go to the level of the group, or to particular perspectives, particular arguments, or to particular groups of people, then you get these other ways in which the same kind of thing happens. And I think sometimes that's what happens with lived experience, because you want to give your personal experience, and that's just dismissed as anecdotal evidence. It's waved away, isn't it? Anecdotal evidence is no good. Come back when you've got some data, or shut up and sit down. But at the same time, shitlord, right, don't you dare deny their lived experience. Because this seems to be the way the term is often used, or I would say, to my perspective, misuse, which is that it's like certain people are granted this kind of entitlement that they can give their lived experience, and it always has to be taken at face value and taken seriously and considered as if they're some kind of oracles of these things because of what they've experienced, whereas what you've experienced counts for absolutely shit as far as they're concerned. And that would be the caveat that I have with regard to this, is that part of it is the part of it that's unacceptable, not the fact of taking lived experience as evidence per se. After all, in a court of law, lived experience, personal testimony is often what a case rests upon. It is what you have seen, you describing to the members of a jury exactly what you've seen, vouchsafing for what you've seen, and then saying how you interpreted that, right? How it came across to you, and then they will decide whether you are a credible witness, whether what you are saying, whether you are reporting it, whether they feel you are reporting it accurately, and whether the way that you are interpreting it is accurate. And I think that's exactly the same way that we should consider lived experience. Is it superseded by hard data? I think it should be each and every time, as long as that hard data is relevant. But the problem is it isn't always relevant. In just the same way as we have these situations where if science can provide us the hard data, then we almost always regard that as trumping philosophical conjecture. But there are subjects such as, if we're talking about normative ethics, then those moral conversations that we'd have take place usually in the sphere of philosophy, because science can't do the legwork that we need it to do. And I think that lived experience sometimes does the same kind of thing, because we have things where we just don't have the hard data, or we have some related data, but it doesn't tell us the whole picture, and we need to get a basket of personal experiences to set alongside that. And so in those circumstances, I think it's relevant, but with that caveat that nobody's perspective, just because of the colour of your skin or your gender or what you've experienced in life, doesn't give you some kind of golden perspective that's beyond being challenged. It doesn't mean that your perspective isn't prejudiced in the way that other people's perspectives are automatically questioned as privileged and prejudiced. So that's what I would say with regard to that little bit of skepticism with regard to everybody's position. As I said in the video that was being responded to, and the context in which they asked me this question, we're all a little bit like those three blind Indian gentlemen. We're all feeling part of that elephant. One of us has the ear, one of us has the tail, one of us is feeling the leg. We're all reporting what we see. We're all seeing part of the whole. We're not seeing all of the whole.